Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of Beginner Game Developer Guide series. Now, in this video, we want to talk about UI and menu designing. This is something most developers will overlook, I would say, because I definitely did. I didn't even think about menu and UI designing until I needed to. So, if you are a beginner developer, I would definitely suggest that you think about this as you go on. And when it comes to UI designing, there are several options that you can use. The first thing and the obvious thing is using Photoshop and designing your own menu. And the other thing is still designing your own menu but using Figma, because Figma is a really new software. Well, compared to Photoshop, it is definitely new. So most people in game development industry, I don't think they use Figma. But when we started developing UI, I obviously wanted to go with Photoshop because I am used to Photoshop. But our UI designer, who was designing the UI, was familiar with Figma, which is a software that they use with software engineering a lot. So yeah, Figma was great. So I want to talk about both these softwares and how you can design your own UI and how you can come up with ideas within these softwares. So let's get into it.
So, when it comes to UI and UX designing, Figma is the software that we used for our game, which is a great software. Well, not exactly software, it is a website. Technically, it also have a software which we can use. But, anyways, we went with Figma, and Photoshop is also a really good option. But we went with Figma because our UX designer was familiar with Figma. When it comes to UI and UX designing, it is one of the most important parts in the game development process, and still it is one of the parts that most people will ignore until they realize how important this is. As a game developer, when you are going to start on your UI and UX designing, the first thing that you should do is you should write down all the menus, all the elements and stuff that you need, which is something that we did when we started. Like, we wrote down we need a notes menu, we need the inventory, then we need the map, and we need these buttons for this stuff, which is basically you are designing the UX, the user experience. So we did that using a flowchart, which I can't find right now, or else I will show it to you. But basically what we did was we got a flowchart, we write down all the menus, like we need the notes menu, we need the inventory menu, and blah blah blah. And what this leads in a flowchart, like from the inventory menu, there are slots, there are buttons, you can use the items, blah blah blah, like that. And from that you can design a wireframe, which we did, and this is our notes wireframe, and you can compare the two designs. Wait, let me show you with the real, well, in our.
So let me quickly add a note here and show you our note menu. So as you can see, the first thing that you can see is when I'm not close to the note, you can see there is an arrow mark, and when I get close to it, there is a F mark. So this is a thing that I wanted to show you. It's not just the menu, guys. It is all the things that is around our player, like this interactive element. So you have to think of all these things to make the user's playability, the game experience, much more appealing. So that is the purpose of a UI and UX designing. So when I press F, it will open the note itself right then and there. And as you can see, there is a back button for our note menu as well, so our player knows how to go back. That will make the UX experience much more easier. And then it's not just that, it gets saved, so we can open our notes menu itself, and you can add many more notes here, and you will get a scroll wheel as well, so you can scroll down and up and select the note you want. So the reason I'm showing you this is because this way that like you get the idea, right? You get what your UI and UX menu has to do for the player. Well, depends on your game. Let me show you our inventory menu as well, and let me quickly show you with a real object. Let's add the actor which goes to our inventory. We can add our ball cutter, And this is one of our inventory items. So when our player picks this up, it goes to our inventory. And let me show you, it has the same interactive button with the arrow and the F. And when we add it, it goes to our inventory. And as you can see, the inventory slot, the look and feel changes. And one last thing I want to show you is our objectives. This part is also one of the UI elements. It comes to our main HUD, which is our playable HUD, the what player sees. And even when we go to the inventory, you can see our objective there. So it's all about giving our players the best experience and the easiest experience, so they will love the game much more, not just because of the gameplay, because how the game feels.
And well, then you can design it in Figma. Again, guys, sorry, I'm not going to go into how you can do all these designs, because it's going to take a while. But basically, the idea is each of these elements have their own purpose. Like this section is about telling the objective. This section is telling about the item data, right? So your goal, your target should be designing this in a way which really looks good for the gamer, and also which has to be really useful and easy to use. That way you can give your best UX experience to your customer, your player, and that way they will stick around to play the game, and which is one of the main reasons why UI designing is very important. Because if the UI is trash, the gamers don't want to play the game, right? So that way you can design your game. And one last very important things when it comes to UI is it's not just like graphic designing. You can't just design this and say, okay, call it a day, right? Because each of these elements are not static. Like this part is static, right? I can just design it and just keep edit in the game engine. But when it comes to buttons, like use button, drop button, they are not static. You have to interact with them. So you need to design each version of them when you interact with them. Well, what the hell does that mean, right? So the best example is take Figma itself. Okay. So when I go through these buttons in Figma, as you can see, it grays out, right? Basically, you can see I'm hovering over it. So that is basically called a hover button. And when I select it, it goes blue, right? So I have selected it. Well, the same case applies to UI designing as well. When you are designing your buttons, you need to design different versions of it for different scenarios. So I have my normal use button. When I hover over it, it goes like this. And when I select it, it goes like this. So that way, our gamer, our player will see what they're doing, and it will be a much user-friendly interface. And I have the same system, but for slots. Like you saw, I think you saw it when I show you in our game. Basically, these all slots have, when they're empty, they have a X through them. And when I add the item, it goes like empty, and the logo of the item, the picture of the item shows here. That way, our player can see what is in their slots, and they have hover buttons and selects as well for each of the slots. Like that, you need to design each of the elements in a specific way that is really easy for our player to use. And really, that's it about UI and UX designing. So again, this is not going to be a tutorial. I just wanted to tell you guys about why this UI UX is very important when it comes to game development in a quick episode. And yeah, that's it. In the next episode, we will be talking much longer about the workflow of game development, and we will be covering over this as well quickly when we are talking about the whole thing. And that will be the end of our beginner game developer guide series. So yeah, guys, see you on the next one.